All right, in this video, I'm going to read a story that I've been generating using DeepGame, which is a version of ChatGPT 4.0. Okay, here we go. In the heart of Mistvale, the enchanted forest realm ruled by the Sylvaneth, Alaric, the young battle mage, found temporary respite. The forest was alive, its ancient trees soaring toward the sky, their leaves shimmering with an ethereal glow, as if each were dipped in starlight. The path was carpeted in a thick layer of moss, soft underfoot, and the air was perfumed with the scent of wildflowers and the fresh, earthy smell of rain yet to fall. Alaric's robes, white and blue, adorned with silver threading that reflected the mystical light, fluttered gently as a cool breeze whispered through the trees. His white staff, embedded with conduits for his storm magic, seemed to hum softly in response to the magical energies that permeated this sacred place. The mage's heart, however, throbbed with a mix of awe and anxiety. He was far from the smoldering ruins of Trentum, yet the shadow of Zerazek's wrath loomed large in his mind. Mistvale offered a beauty and peace so starkly contrary to the chaos he had fled, and for a moment Alaric allowed himself to soak in the serenity, his vigilant gaze softening as he observed tiny sprites flitting between flowers and vines. But his brief moment of respite was interrupted by a melodious voice, rich and captivating, cutting through the tranquility of the forest. The sound seemed to flow with the wind, enchanting yet unclear in direction. Alaric paused, his instincts as a mage urging him to follow the voice, though his mind cautioned restraint. Guided by the hauntingly beautiful melody, Alaric wove through the dense undergrowth of Mistvale, his staff held firmly before him, a beacon and shield in one. The forest seemed to acknowledge his passage, the branches parting slightly as if in deference to his plight. The light grew dimmer as he ventured deeper, yet each step was illuminated by luminous fungi and the soft glow of magical creatures observing his journey. As he followed the voice, it grew clearer, its timbre both soothing and sorrowful. Finally, Alaric emerged into a small clearing where the light danced like liquid gold upon the leaves. Before him stood a Sylvaneth woman, her features elven and ethereal. Her hair flowed like autumn leaves, rich and coppery, cascading over a gown woven from the very essence of the forest. She was singing to a wounded fawn lying at her feet, her hands glowing with the soft green light as she tended to his injuries. The Sylvaneth woman looked up, her eyes a deep, vibrant green, meeting Alaric's with an intensity that held both wariness and wisdom. I sensed a stranger's heart beating with the storm, she said, her voice as melodious as the song she had been singing. What brings you, a mage of storms, into the heart of Mistvale? In the serene clearing under the watchful eyes of the ancient trees, Alaric bowed gracefully to the Sylvaneth woman. I am Alaric, a mage of storms, he introduced himself, his voice carrying a respectful tone. I seek refuge and guidance within Mistvale. The Sylvaneth woman paused her healing, the glow around her hands fading as she stood to meet Alaric's gaze. I am called Lorena, she replied, her voice echoing the rustle of leaves. Mistvale remains untouched by the darkness that plagues the lands beyond, but we are wary of the shadows that reproach our borders. Lorena gestured gracefully toward the north. Glenspire Castle lies several hours from here, through the thickest part of the forest. The path is hidden to those not of Sylvaneth blood, but I can guide you to the edge of the domain where the trail to the castle becomes clear. Alaric nodded, his concern for his immediate safety momentarily eased by Lorena's offer. Thank you, Lorena. I am in need of allies, and I hope to find some at Glenspire. His gaze returned to the fawn briefly, noting the creature's more peaceful breathing as a sign of Lorena's skill. As Alaric and Lorena ventured deeper into the heart of Mistvale, the forest around them seemed to come alive with a chorus of natural sounds. Birds sang from hidden perches, and the wind carried the scent of flowers and fresh earth. Lorena, moving with an elegance that spoke of her deep connection to the forest, pointed out ancient trees and hidden springs, her knowledge as deep as the roots of Mistvale itself. The trees here are ancient guardians, Lorena explained, her voice melding with the rustling leaves. They have seen many centuries and hold the memories of the forest. They will protect us as long as we respect their domain. Ilaric, absorbing every detail, felt a growing sense of reverence for the Sylvaneth and their land. He shared tales of his own, speaking of the cities beyond the forest and the chaos wrought by Zerezek's forces. Lorena listened intently, her expression one of empathy and concern. As they reached a clearing where the canopy parted to reveal a sky, Lorena stopped. "This is where I must leave you," she said, pointing toward a narrow path that seemed to shimmer slightly in the light. "Follow this trail, and it will lead you directly to Glenspire Castle. Be wary, for the path is protected by enchantments that confuse those with ill intentions." Ilaric nodded, understanding the gravity of her words. "Thank you, Lorena, for your guidance and protection. I hope to see you again under more peaceful circumstances." With a final nod, Lorena turned and disappeared back into the forest, leaving Ilaric to continue alone on the path to Glenspire Castle. As Ilaric walked the shimmering path toward Glenspire Castle, he channeled a gentle current of his storm magic into the staff, causing it to emit a soft, radiant light. This magical luminescence cast elongated shadows behind the ancient trees and illuminated the moss-covered path ahead, revealing the intricate beauty of Mistvale, even under the veil of night. Mindful of the customs and etiquette of the Sylvaneth, Ilaric knew that presenting gifts to Queen Tatiana would show respect and goodwill. As he watched, his eyes scanned the forest floor and the surrounding flora for items that might serve as worthy offerings. First, he spotted a cluster of moonflowers, their petals glowing faintly in the moonlight, emitting a gentle, captivating fragrance. Carefully, he gathered a few of these delicate blooms, making sure they leave the plant healthy and intact. Next, he noticed a small, perfectly formed crystal lying amongst the roots of an old tree. The crystal was clear with a slight iridescent sheen that caused the light from his staff, reflecting the colors around it. It was a natural gem, likely cherished by the earth spirits of Mistvale. Finally, Ilaric found a small, intricately twisted branch that had fallen from one of the guardian trees. The branch was covered in a fine layer of silver moss, making it appear as though it were frosted with starlight. With these 3 gifts secured in his robes, moonflowers for beauty, a crystal for purity, and a silver mossed branch for strength, Ilaric felt a sense of hopeful anticipation about his upcoming encounter with the Queen. He continued along the path, each step taking him closer to the heart of the Sylvaneth realm and the regal presence of Queen Tatiana. As he approached the gates of Glenspire Castle, the path widened and the forest receded, giving way to a grand view of the towering spires and sprawling fortifications of the elven stronghold. At the imposing gates of Glenspire Castle, Ilaric halted, his staff's light dimming, as if in respect to the solemnity of the fortress before him. The Sylvaneth guards, their armor mirroring the forest's hues, with the deceptive delicacy of overlapping leaves, scrutinized the approaching mage with eyes that glinted like dewdrops under the morning sun. Their spears, vibrant and pulsating with a life force of their own, formed a barrier not just of wood and crystal, but of ancient, living magic. "I am Ilaric, a battle mage of the storm," he declared, his voice carrying a mix of humility and strength. "I come seeking the wisdom and audience of Queen Tatiana, bearing no ill will, but only respect and the hope of alliance." The guards exchanged a silent glance, their expressions unreadable, yet clearly communicating through their ancient bond. After a moment, one of them nodded slightly, a gesture that seemed to grant permission for Ilaric to enter. "As seekers come, so shall they be known," the guard intoned formally. "Proceed with respect, Mage of Storms, and may your path be true." With that solemn blessing, the gates began to open, the sound like a whisper through leaves rather than the creak of metal, revealing the path leading up to the heart of the castle. Ilaric stepped forward, the crystal tips of their spears catching the light from his staff, casting prismatic patterns on the ground. As he walked through the ancient archway, Ilaric felt the weight of many eyes upon him, not just those of the guards, but of the castle itself, as if the very stones were awake and watchful. The path wound through elaborately landscaped gardens that somehow felt both wild and meticulously cared for, a testament to the Sylvaneth's harmony with nature. Approaching the grand doors of the main hall, Ilaric prepared himself, mentally rehearsing his speech and the presentation of his gifts. His heart, though steady, beat with the anticipation of meeting the Elven Queen, a ruler known both for her wisdom and her formidable power. As the doors opened, revealing the grandeur of the court of Tatiana, Alaric stepped forward into the light, ready to make his case for alliance and aid. That is the end of Chapter 1.